I wait tables. But last week, I built a field hospital.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
Well, good morrow, friends, and welcome back to the Rally Cry Collegiate Series. It's playoff bracket. It's day number 2 on this fine Sunday. And listen, I might be Relic, but I am joined by a fine gentleman. Of course, we do wish our well wishes to Galgan, but it's wonderful to invite onto the stage, proverbially, of course, Mr. Vodable, a man of many talents, including a deep lore knowledge of CRL. Please bestow onto me not only how you're feeling, but how you're feeling about this bracket in general.
Feeling pretty good. I mean, it's a Sunday. I unfortunately lost an hour of sleep like everyone else in America. And, you know, that's just what's going on as well. There's like multiple lands happening for Collegiate at the same time as this event. 2 of the teams are at 2 different lands. So they might potentially face off against each other in different countries because Maryville is currently in South Carolina. And then Maryville and then Oakland's in Canada right now. So it's like really interesting distances that 2 of these teams could potentially face off against each other. And this is a crazy best of 7 bracket that we're going to have some hijinks going on with just getting the teams in the lobby today.
It's wild times, and let me tell you, we got ourselves the wild prize pool as well here. Of course, $30,000 in total across the entirety of the Collegiate Series. Of course, the breakdown, $11,000 for that FGC Series, $8,000 for CS2, $5,000 for the Madden College Championship, and $6,000 of those dollars are allocated to the top 4 that finish within this playoff bracket here in Ye Rocket League. And that means, Galgan, that as we take a look at the bracket, we're starting off today with the most spiciest of matches. Hey, you want to get into that top 4? Well, you've not just got to win this series, but the series thereafter as well. We've seen Pescado's Boise State on the slate, and we're thinking that that's probably a sweep. Yeah. And I'm pleased to say that we're going to be covering the other side of this bracket then. Oklahoma Christian against Southern Miss Coca-Cola. I mean, that's got banger written all over it.
I also like that they have a name sponsor for a collegiate team. Like, we are getting closer and closer to actual, to traditional sports brands and every kind of sort of sponsorship you can kind of expect in that fashion for these schools, which is just insane to think about. But yes, this is going to be a crazy matchup. I mean, Southern Miss, this is their first time in a while having a full team, and they have a completely revamped program and revamped roster compared to what we've seen in the past from that school in Oakland. They've had so many changes, but they've always been kind of around the block. But a big name for them, Jay Wiz, he's changed schools a couple of times during CRL, but being back on the pitch for Oakland, making some waves. They took down Akron on land recently, prevented a reverse sweep. Now I got to see what they can do here.
It's interesting you mentioned Jay Wiz, actually, because he's been one of the players who's been sort of on the subs bench in that sort of coaching spot role and hasn't really partaken too much in the overall action so far. I mean, we may still get to see him today, especially with, and I should correct myself, listen, I might have not lost any sleep, but I'm still lacking the brain cells, of course. If you do win this series, you are, of course, in the top 4, but then we start to get into, well, you are definitively 4th and then definitively 3rd, so on. And yeah, Oakland, so yesterday the results, I would argue, pretty decent. 4-0 Osu Gray, 4-2 UT Dallas. I mean, for me personally, I think that could have gone either way. UT Dallas is UT Dallas. They are the anomaly of the entire bracket.
They really are.
But then they dropped 4-2 to Oklahoma Christian. And this was really the big question of Oakland yesterday was, would they be able to step it up against like that really top echelon? Or were they more in line with Oklahoma Christian as we were seeing them as maybe below Boise, Maryville? Well, we got our answer quite definitively, at least on that particular day, 4-2. As for Southern Miss Coca-Cola, they arrived in the lower bracket a little bit earlier on, but they did take down Drexel Dragons in a very hotly contested 4-3 series. They dropped there via the aforementioned Maryville, managed to take 2 games off them, and their first round was a 4-0 sweep over Bowling Green State, who, unlucky number 13, ran into Boise in the lower bracket. We're sorry, by the way. So it's
RIP.
It does set up for quite a spicy take. Obviously, Oakland, their most recent result, that loss then against OC. Southern Miss with that really galvanizing 4-3 against Drexel Dragons. But I see this one as, again, a really, really difficult one to call, VOD, especially, as you mentioned, without Jay Wiz. He's got RLCS experience behind him. It's very difficult to replace that.
Well, one big thing to note is that when I looked back at the VOD for that LAN matchup for the side of Oakland, that, well, he was really the player to look out for. He's been leveling up as the years have gone on and has improved so much for this team. So now we've got to really see what the rest of the Oakland squad can do. Playing in the LAN environment, Peep, as I talked about him, scores the first goal.
Prophetic. Vodable. And it's interesting that you mentioned Pete, because I was going to be mentioning Sonic Boom, who, defensively speaking, was outstanding yesterday. Unlucky to be on the losing team, but he wins that challenge really well. Sets up perfectly for Pete, who's moving into that shadow striker position. A nice early lead, a nerve settler for Oakland University.
Yeah, we really got to see what Southern Miss Coca-Cola can do now, though, to bounce back themselves. As I get a bit of a voice crack because Pete, well, cracking up the competition in the early stages of this first game. And being a best of 7, it's going to be a fight with Zaf getting that first goal for their team.
It's another really nice challenge, though. Zaf does all the heavy lifting, but that commits to Sonic Boom and Whale not on the same wavelength there, and albeit a bit fortuitous, Zaf remaining in that area, able to poke it into that bottom pocket, and well, that nerve settler for Oakland University. A very quick response here from Southern Miss. That's exactly the sort of start that certainly we would want, not so much the teams.
I'm sure Oakland wanted a little bit of a stronger lead or a longer lead, any better lead than a tie game that they are currently facing right now. But Southern Miss, I mean, this has been a team that a lot of people were saying has so much potential, and you can see why they've been able to make waves and try to push into that top 4 that we're talking about. Melodic, Zaf, and Astro. I mean, that is an insane squad that has RLCS level experience, been going deep into some of the close qualifiers previously, and then also Zaf has just been well known throughout the CRL scene before moving to Southern Miss.
I'll tell you what, Astro in particular, oh man, this guy scored 80% plus of the goals yesterday in that Drexel Dragon series. I mean, the dude was, you couldn't stop him scoring. It was really, really impressive. Pretty impressive there, good save from Melodic Misery as well. But obviously our big question mark over Southern Miss was, when the going gets tough, do they start to capitulate? Do they start to point the finger at everyone else? We saw a great response. We've seen a great throw downfield, and they are going to have to respond because deep downtown, straight down Broadway, finds the opener again.
And that was Zaf basically passing it to his teammate, but their teammate was not prepared on the ground, didn't even expect the center, and it perfectly set up the counterattack from Peep on the clear. I think he was just going for a challenge on the ball, but hey, he'll take a goal outside of that as well.
Oh, well, so Oakland with 2 go-aheads. Southern Miss fighting from behind, not once but twice. They certainly won't want to do it thrice, but I tell you what, they also want to find that equalizer sharpish. Otherwise, you'd bet on this Oakland University side to really settle into affairs. And as Whale looks to recycle here, he's lucky that neither Pete nor Sonic Boom were really pushed here. Southern Miss lacking resources, perhaps.
Might be the case here for Southern Miss, especially with Oakland University feeling so confident and elated after the wins that they've gotten recently in the LAN that they are playing in. They are all in the same building too, so that might be a boost that they need to move forward into the later stages of this bracket here, Relic.
The LAN buff is most certainly real as Zaf does some shenanigans in the midfield. It's 3v1. Sonic Boom had 2 people chasing after him. Neither could quite get a clip on him, and that means that a chance for Southern Miss goes a begging, and Astro tries to close down Peep here, but Peep's gained so much free real estate for his team. Up the field, intercepted by Melodic Misery, falls kindly to Wales. Zaf now moves in, tries to clear it with 0 boost and does incredibly well, actually finds its way to the midfield circle. However, straight back to that backboard. Oakland University looking super strong with this press.
This is what we're hoping to see from the future Oakland roster. This squad, I mean, they've had their pitfalls. They didn't do as well as they wanted for CRL this past semester, but now that that's not on the table and there's so many other competitions like this one going on, the sky's the limit for a team like Oakland. And Southern Miss Coca-Cola, with this newer team that doesn't have as much experience playing together, that's going to be the biggest difference maker for them. Is if they can get these demos and clear out the competition, it might be enough for them to come out on top. But still weren't able to get that second goal to tie things up again.
It's so difficult for Astro. Doesn't quite get the first touch he's looking for, and then he's basically trying to generate power from a standing start. This is going to fall to Zath now, who at least sets up a little bit better. Flip reset 2 past 1, but not past the second. Is Sonic Boom on hand at the pumps yet again. Big bump there, and well, dances round 1, almost suckers in Zath too. Great check up there from Zath to avoid the fake potential. Is Astro now looking to go to Melodic Misery, straight down the other side of the pitch, but good rotation from Oakland, defensively sound.
Great looks thus far for both of these teams, but Oakland is just a little bit faster to the ball and taking advantage of some of the mistakes that are coming out from Southern Miss Coca-Cola. But Melodic, Zaf, Astro, they have the experience as players, and really it's just taking time to gel as best they can. But keep the pass off, oh, that would have been nice to see, but it was a bit of a fake off the backboard, but no follow-up afterwards. I know they don't need to overextend, but they almost gave just a counter-attack goal away.
Great confidence, isn't it, in the back line to get there in the nick of time. Only 30 seconds left now, less than, to look for that equalizer that we were speaking of so long ago, Bod. And I'm struggling to see the chances generated by Southern Miss Coca-Cola. Very reactive right now, ever since they went behind for the second time. Maybe a chance here as Zap lifts it in. Astro, again, a little bit too slow to the ball. Great credit for this Oakland side in front of net. Astro again, Zap gonna have a follow-up chance. Sonic Boom in the way. Astro was hoping that Melodic Misery would be a little further forward. They check up, they go back in field, but it's dealt with yet again. Zap's going to try and keep this up, does so momentarily, heads to the other side. Melodic Misery again does so well to keep it up, but Astro didn't expect them to put it into the area where it was eventually landing. It's a hard-fought win, an early win for Oakland. Southern Miss with a couple of opportunities here and there, but I think we'd like to see them be a little bit more industrious in their chance creation down the important side of the field.
I mean, this was the Peep show. I talked about it. He was the one who's been popping off on LAN, and I feel like that is all Peep needed to come alive throughout any series this squad has been playing. I'm curious to see what the results are from some of the other series they've been playing today specifically, because a lot of those have gone down already, but nonetheless, this Oakland team, completely different from what we have seen in past seasons, and Peep specifically has improved so much from the last time that I've seen them in the fall, so congrats to them. But again, that's only game 1. So many more to go here, Relic, in a best of 7.
Listen, I said the cliche yesterday. I'm not going to remind everyone again today. But look, I definitely liked what I saw from Oakland. Admittedly, it almost shows even more strength in my mind that they do get that early goal. They are pegged back so early on. I mean, it was mere seconds that they held onto the lead. But they didn't panic. They kept it calm. Their rotations looked incredibly sound throughout the entire 5-minute period. Defensively speaking, that's why I'm always worried about these collegiate teams, because you start to stretch, you start to panic, and especially if you're being probed by the opposition team with demos, bumps, whatever you want to call it, that's when you're starting to ask the questions of, okay, well, just how strong can they be in this moment? Where is the individual step up to say, okay, I'm going to clear the field, I'm going to give us a little bit more time to look for resources? They didn't even need to do that because of how good they were. Straight off the kickoff, they might have a chance. Well marshaled by Zach, but scary nonetheless.
That was too close for comfort. If you are Southern Miss Coca-Cola, you want no part of any potential opening goal after dropping a close game in the first one of this best of 7. Again, since they're in the lower bracket as well, they don't have second chances. This is the fight for their life for this bracket to see how far they can make it on this playoff day. But even then, Southern Miss Coca-Cola, I know these players have so much ferocity in their hearts when it comes to fighting tooth and nail to make sure that they don't go down without a fight, and that's what I'm going to expect from all 3 of them throughout this best of 7.
It's an important point you bring up, though. Unless you're a school called Maryville or Oklahoma Christian, you got one life and you're going home if you use it up early on. And obviously, a lot more riding on the line on these particular series, given that if you lose, you don't get in the money. Your opponents will be. So everything really riding on this. You know, you wouldn't blame the players for feeling a little bit at unease. But I got to say, for Southern Miss, we're starting to see them generate a couple more passing lanes and shooting opportunities too, but we're not really seeing that siege mentality. And I'm not even talking about defensively, I'm talking about setting up, recycling plays, you know, again, looking for those openings that will really make Oakland sweat. Every time Oakland come down the other side, however, very different story. Everything seems like it could be on target at the very least.
This is a much closer affair, it feels like, in this first opening 2 minutes. Both these teams shored up their defenses. Not as much that they have having to worry about mistake-wise. They have locked in for Southern Miss Coca-Cola. I think the biggest difference here is Oakland have been playing on land all day, and Southern Miss, this is their first series in this bracket, depending on how far they make it. So, big difference between the warm-up, you could say, for both the squads, and Oakland playing against a lot of top teams there at that specific LAN event. So, there's some maybe individual changes that these two teams can make, but they're playing their A game, and that just goes to show how close the series is likely to be with the way Game 1 and now specifically Game 2 is going without a single goal in the first half, potentially. I don't want to gas the cursor too much, but yeah, it's not going to happen that time.
It's a lot of Rocket League to be played from Oakland University.
Truly.
A lot of Rocket League to be played from here on out as well. It should be mentioned, well, of course, we're only at Game 2 in potentially a Game 7 scenario if it does go the distance. Southern Miss coming in cold, yes. Coming in fresh, also yes. And that might be something to keep in mind as we continue on in this series. Still goalless, of course, in game number 2. But as soon as I say that, another chance opens up for Oakland University. Not on target. They've got to be doing better than that.
Need some more accuracy, some innovation, pulling out some different tools from the arsenal and seeing if they still work, because right now everything that they've been throwing at the board has not been sticking. I don't know how that didn't go through. Zap barely able to get a piece on it. At the end, it looked like it was almost fully through goal line, but he'll take his deep breath after that one, because I think that was a pretty breathtaking save.
Most certainly, and Astro smart going for the far post, but again, Whale is back in town and does exactly what you'd expect him to do. Awkward bounce for Melodic Misery to deal with. Deals with it pretty decently. Interception at the midfield line, and Whale lifts it up. Maybe looking for that third. Here's Peep, far post again, but easily read by Zap, who goes for the lift. Good bump on Tysonic Boom, and Zap goes to the backboard rather than a straight shot at net. Knew that Whale was going to be there. Counter-attack. Peep, Whale destroys the opposition in front of them. Breakthrough at last. It's 1 at 1-1-1. Woo.
I mean, perfect timing, angel numbers, whatever you need, that is going to be what happens here. Whale is the angel there for Pete, though, as he is going to say, "Get down, Mr. President. I will block any incoming opponents in your path to glory." And that's exactly what we saw here. Keep up every goal so far, but it's a whole team effort from Oakland.
And this is going to be painful for Southern Miss, though. The moment they start to wind up the gears, the moment that they start to look a little bit more synergous in that transition phase, immediately Oakland with a counter punch, and it sticks. 2v1 scenario, Southern Miss caught out, and they don't have much time to try and rectify things either. Scored 1 goal in game number 1. You'd expect them to score at least something here in game number 2, but the way that Oakland are going about their business now, not necessarily turtling up, but continuing to look strong defensively speaking. That's a great clearance to Whale, netted 2-0.
Wow. Craziness going on right now between these two teams, but still a beautiful performance from Oakland, and finally someone other than Pete able to get on the board for their squad. Whale and Pete working together as a pseudo duo on offense. Sonic Boom just doing everything necessary to support those players, and I'm loving the synergy from Oakland. Southern Miss, though, it's not necessarily that they're doing too much wrong. It's just Oakland playing a little bit faster, a little bit cleaner and better, and that's exactly what is making the difference in these first 2 games.
I couldn't have put it better myself. I think if I was to try and quantify it, it feels like a bunch of players playing at 6 out of 10 and a bunch of players playing at 8 out of 10. Yeah. Just marginally better across the board, and that is what's making the difference. A difference which has seen Oakland University keep a clean sheet in game number 2. Doubles up their series lead as well. Looking pretty handsome and all good and roses in that particular camp, but for Southern Miss, frustration.
That is a bit frustrating for these teams. I mean, you're hoping for the best for both these squads, but Oakland having the land buff, I feel like they want to be more confidently getting these victories. It feels like they are squeaking by a little bit too close for their comfort, and that might not be what they're aiming for in this series if they want a complete win. Of course, they do have 2 games. They could easily get 2 more, but it is by mere margins. I mean, for the majority of that game, it was 0-0, and then eventually the floodgates opened twice, and that was it. So it's still a pretty close affair. There's still a chance for those Southern Miss fans, but they need to turn it up to 11 instead of the 6 out of 10 like you were talking about, Relic.
we're one melodic misery pop-off away from this series
Too much.
completely opening up. So I'm totally on the same wavelength as you there. It can certainly be commended that they are just, it feels like a very administrative series so far from Oakland University. They're doing what I always talk about when I look to get back into a series of Rocket League. Do the basics first, do the basics right, then do things very well, throw on a couple of extravagant flip resets or whatever you want to add onto there here and there, but there's not really much more beyond that. When I look at this Oakland performance, it doesn't inspire me to boot up Rocket League necessarily. it inspires me in the sense of, oh, aren't they doing well? And that's about as far as it goes, unfortunately.
They do need to be doing a little bit better, but of course they do have 2 wins under the docket now, so 2 more to go, and that's all they will need for the potential victory moving forward from here on out. Nonetheless, though, Southern Miss got a goal. They need way more where that came from in game 1 to have a chance to pull themselves back from the proverbial brink that they are about to find themselves in.
Certainly, and I'd also go on record with saying I'd like to see a lot more from Misery and Zach. You can't just give Astro the ball and hope that he's going to score every time, because listen, this ain't Drexel Dragons anymore. This ain't Kansas, baby. Although, ironically enough, Drexel isn't Kansas anyway. I realize that that's a great reference, but it's also confusing at the collegiate level. Great fake, Melodic Misery, speaking of, gets that early lead.
There we go. I mean, hey, we get paid the big bucks for a reason. We know exactly who's going to pop off when Seth almost stole that, but still. Didn't necessarily need to go for it, but style points nonetheless as Southern Miss get on the board first. And this is the big shift in momentum they need. And this is what I was talking about for Oakland. Can't be too comfortable, because exactly when they don't expect it is when Southern Miss, Coca-Cola are able to pop off. Tried to have a smoke screen of a play, but nerves of steel there for the defender.
I love the call of the bluff there. You're expecting me to jump, aren't you? You're expecting me to be a fool and to jump, and I'm gonna get bumped out the way, but no, I'm just gonna stand still on the ground, and there ain't nothing you're gonna do about it. Southern Miss, we've seen them protect leads really well. They love playing from in front. Again, a little bit more so-so when playing from behind. So this is certainly an ideal start for them, and certainly demoing in the midfield will limit what Oakland can do in the offensive phase here. Melodic Misery gets past Whale and the demo for free. Why not? Sonic Boom in a difficult position though, and loses out on that 100 boost as well. Zap bullies their way past them. Nice challenge from Peep, who then misses out on the follow-up touch, lacking resources. Melodic Misery back to Zap. Oh, that's not the clearance that they were hoping for, was it? Whale, dangerous area, backboard up for Peep! Oh, it all seems so simple, but it was anything but.
Oh my goodness, Peep trying to do what they can again to keep their team competitive in every individual game. And that was a perfect setup, of course, from Sonic Boom, but majority of the work done by Peep there. The defense tried desperately to get a save, but it was not well enough. Demo from Melodic, but almost an own goal. Barely saved off the side, and without that touch, it would have been a goal for the other way.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards that was an important touch from Astro rather than yikes, that was a touch from Astro. Speaking of, again, an incredible save from what was almost certainly a goal going in. Looking for the dunk, Sonic Boom smart, straight back on target. No, it's not, a little bit shy of the target, I should say. Zat in field, all 3 players back for Oakland University. A fiery game here in game number 3 as we hit half time.
Crazy because right after the series, I believe Oakland are having to play a series on land against Davenport, so they have a long day ahead of them just to see exactly how the schedule is going to go down for Oakland. Maryville, I haven't had a chance to look at the Boost on the Beach bracket for them, but still, these teams having to navigate 2 different tournaments at the same time while all this competition is going down is stressful, but still, Oakland here in the moment and now on our stream, seeing if they can complete a sweep so they can make it in time for their next match. We'll see if that's going to happen, but still, Southern Miss, they're going to do everything that they can to make this a long run for both these teams.
Hey, the quicker you beat them, the longer a break you'll have. Efficiency earns reward. It's certainly a nice system to have, if not a little bit stressful at times. And speaking of stress, whenever this man's on the ball, Pete, you expect something spectacular at this point. It's been getting better and better, not just, of course, the Rally Cry Collegiate series, but as you rightly say, Bod, throughout the latter end of last year and going into this. heading into the midfield, onto the retreat it forces Southern Miss Coca-Cola. Nice cooks a pinch here, but it falls into enemy hands yet again from a Southern Miss perspective, although it falls kindly from Melodic Misery. Going for that double touch off the backboard, but nobody able to apply the finish either. Zap a little bit too far back. Here he is now, again driving towards that backboard. Just feels like a little bit repetitive for my liking, Bottle. We're not seeing those many demo plays. We're not seeing any breakups of the rotation. Oakland seem unfazed, it seems.
I have a little bit of correction on what was going down at the St. Clair LAN. It's not actually them playing Davenport. They already won before they even came to the series. They play Northwood next, so now they're just warming up for Northwood. And hey, this is a great series to do just that, especially with Pete popping off the way that he is. Still, I gotta give credit where it is due. These passing plays, could have potentially gotten that himself, but hey, might as well go for the safe route. Make sure that you can secure that gold, potentially the lead here, and win if they can hold it on for the next 52 seconds.
And you know, Tysonic Boom taking my advice and running with it, wiping out the last defender on the line, opening up that free shot opportunity for Pete, opening up that 1-goal lead for Oakland University. Where have I heard that before? Oh yes, 5 minutes ago. Oh yes, 10 minutes ago. Deja vu for Southern Miss Coca-Cola, banging their head against a brick wall it seems, and again struggling to find a way out of their own half.
Oh my goodness. Drop down from Melodic onto Zaf, and if there was any player in position for Oakland, that would have been a simple dunk into a goal, but they got to be careful on the transition here. Off the backboard it goes. Nobody's really in the best spot for Southern Miss to take advantage of the situation. Time ticking down, and so do their chances, especially with a demo in the air. To Sonic Boom, make sure it hits the ground. It does bounce before it's 0 seconds, but no, they can't keep it up, and we're 1 game away, Relic, from a complete sweep. I don't think either of us expected that with the series.
Honestly, Southern Miss hasn't gotten out of second gear. Oakland hasn't gotten out of fourth. It's a bizarre game of Rocket League where there's nothing particularly crazy to talk about. Like, there's just a set of players that are playing better than another set of players, and that's terrible analysis, but it's also exactly what's happening in front of our eyes.
Unfortunately, when we have analysis and we see exactly how it is, that's how we have to call it. I mean, we can't say, oh, you know, it's a completely different story. That's exactly the story that is unfolding right in front of us, and there's not much more we can say how this series is going down. One team playing better than the other. It's not necessarily like mistakes or bad rotations. Both teams are great. It's just one team's playing a little bit better, and that's what is happening here and now. And I definitely think it has to do with that land buff, Relic.
You know, you know what? It is such a difference maker when you're in the same room as each other, and you can, go, oh, like really hype each other up. And again, I really think that point that you brought to the table earlier about, Oakland have already got matches underneath them today. That does make such a difference. And I'm not here to debate between online and LAN work necessarily as a humble caster, but I do think that LAN environment really just, it cranks up the pressure even more, and it really does make diamonds out the rough. And I think Oakland University had a couple of rough edges yesterday. I don't see those rough edges here today, but I do think that Southern Miss is feeding into this narrative by their lack of fight. I want to see them get aggressive. I want to see them playing dirty. And whatever way they do play, they have to win VOD. It's reverse sweep or go home.
That it is. And for Oakland's sake, they're wanting this to be a quick series because they have another one at the LAN itself. Well, Whale is making sure this is going to be quick work for them. I don't know exactly how this one went in, so we have to roll the tape, and it it points off the roof of the attacker from Southern Miss and somehow redirected into their own net. I have never seen that.
You could say he's having a whale of a time. You could also say the Southern Miss Coca-Cola maybe blubbering a little bit after that one, because it is unfortunate. It is unlucky. But when it rains, boy oh boy, does it pour. And as a resident of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, I can tell you that with full authority.
Happens a lot there, I've heard.
It does.
If they were in Vancouver instead of Windsor, Ontario for Oakland, then they'd probably be expecting a lot of rain. But typically the weather's not too bad at this time of the day. Still, Oakland, I mean, they have felt so much stronger, so much more confident since coming out to that LAN. As I mentioned before, taking down the likes of Akron. Yes, not the entire rosters you would typically see. Ilio instead of Tristan for that team, but still, Patty took on 4 patties of burgers before that series, and it wasn't enough to give them the energy to take down this Oakland squad. And Southern Miss, even with all the Coca-Cola that they have, unfortunately, all they're going to be is a bit hyper after this series.
Yeah, 100%. It's one team that's trending up, and one team that is very much continuing to trend, well, not trend, but maybe tread water with their performances. Again, I remind everyone of the result yesterday, the last result for Southern Miss, 4-3 victory over Drexel Dragons. Okay, you get the result, but should it have been a little more comfortable? Should we be expecting more from this roster, or have they hit their glass ceiling? Easy giveaways like that certainly aren't going to help. 3 minutes left to change this story.
I'll have to see what Southern Miss can really do to turn things to the next level. We've been waiting for it. You mentioned Astro. I mean, having all that goal participation and doing as best as they could in the previous series, but relatively silent so far, playing more of a passive role as you would not really hope to see from the Southern Miss Coca-Cola squad. So maybe a different strategy going into today compared to the rest of it. They might have seen some of the footage from Oakland's matchups yesterday as well. So I'm really curious on what exactly is going to go down here and now for Southern Miss to really change their fate. Because, as you mentioned, it reverse sweep at minimum to at least move on to the next round, and that doesn't even guarantee them to make it into the grand final just yet.
Certainly. Is that then? Nice pinch play. Very nice pinch play. On target pinch play. Tysonic Boom required. Melodic Misery tries to break through. Can't find it just yet. Infield again. Zap break call. On target. And it hits the woodwork and away. So unfortunate. Melodic Misery gets a piece of this one. Looking to at least try and pile on the pressure, but they can't even get the 100 boost on the way out. And this charge has come to a faltering stop.
Less than 2 minutes to go with time ticking down for Southern Miss Coca-Cola, and if you were one of those players, we're hoping that time machines existed so you could go back to the start of the series and at least get a game, because that's the momentum they're missing. They're missing shots, they're missing opportunities, and they're missing chances here to take down this Oakland University squad, who seem to be on fire and on a roll with the series that they have played so far today. But again, Oakland University, this is just a stop for them in the bracket here and the bracket on the land. They want to go the distance in both tournaments, and with this kind of potential that they've been showcasing, I could expect some upsets onto Northwood, as I was talking about, for that specific land, but also for some of the other teams that might not be as prepared against Oakland like Southern Miss seem to be here.
It's a major glow up from yesterday in every department. They're making a usually bombastic Southern Miss side look practically apathetic. You can see a bit more emotion. We talk about the toxicity allegations here and there. Maybe a bit of toxicity might be what's required here. Just something, anything, a pulse perhaps, but time is running out for them. Just 30 seconds left, and they're again stranded in their own half.
Stranded in their own half, and you could say toxicity might be an issue or a benefit for them, but even with that, Southern Miss Coca-Cola, they aren't cutting each other off. They aren't making typical mistakes you'd see teammates who don't trust each other. So I can't even think that that might be a potential issue for the Southern Miss Coca-Cola squad. It's just Oakland are playing better, like we said earlier. Less than 10 seconds ago, open opportunity, saved by Zap. One final chance for them to get a shot onto the net, but keep with the save of the game, and that will go down in history as some misery at Southern Miss Coca-Cola, as it will be a sweep for Oakland that none of us expected.
And took him to the surgery suite. That was clinical from Oakland University. I cannot fault a single thing with that performance.
Not at all.
You don't say it often, but I really can't. There was maybe the odd mistake, the one mistake here and there, but no team is going to play 100% perfect in a game of Rocket League. You want to get as close to that 99% as you can. I think Oakland hit it.
They hit it right on the nail, and they are hoping to keep going until it's all the way through the wall, and that they can push through their boundaries that have been set in the past. And we've seen Oakland have some decent performances here and there in previous events and previous seasons of Collegiate Rocket League, but this is a really good showing for them, and I'm hoping that they can continue this throughout the rest of the day. We'll see once that matchup happens in the St. Clair land exactly if they could take down Norfolk, because if they could do that, I think they could win this entire thing, Relic.
It's, on the back of this performance, yeah, absolutely. Everyone's sort of looking around. We haven't got confirmation of the Pescados Boise State. Again, the irony of the one that we earmarked as a 4
right?
actually goes to 5 games or something. But we're earmarking Boise and Maryville, maybe doing a bit of discredit to Oklahoma Christian. But we're looking at those two and we're thinking, gosh, imagine if they faced each other in the first round of the upper bracket. Imagine if one of them gets sent down to the full lower bracket run redemption tour into the grand finals. But we can't count out these other universities or OC esports, obviously Oklahoma Christian and Oakland, especially if they're going to play as good as that. And this is one of the lowest scoring games of series, I should say, in the Rally Cry Collegiate series period. Between two teams of this caliber, it's half expected, but a bit unexpected from the Southern Miss side that they only came away with 2 in the end.
That is the craziest factor about this. It was a very defensive game. There wasn't too many unique plays when it came to trying to score goals for these teams, because a lot of it was going for those demos, clearing out the other team. And I feel like just the nerves of steel, as I was talking about, that Oakland had was to their benefit. They were able to read every mind game, every potential setup apart from this one. And Pete was just on the other side of the net. I think he could have gotten the save, but he's like, we're not sweating it because they feel so confident. And that showed in their gameplay.
Most certainly, and I also think Southern Miss a little bit hard done by with some of their luck. I mean, we see that peak shot through the middle of 2 where Zaf's trying to go for a clearance, and we have that, I guess you could call it a doink pinch goal. Zaf with nearly brilliant accuracy, but not enough. Under 10 goals for the entire series. Sorry, is this Rocket League? I'm asking the question because that's not usually what we see. But you look at the saves. I mean, 17.
That's what I was talking about. The defensive game.
it was highly, highly impressive. Just more impressive from an Oakland University side who secure that place then in the lower semi-finals against the winners of Pescados or Boise State. How do we? I mean, look. Let us presume for one moment, not to discredit Pescados. Let us presume for one moment that it is Boise State that Oakland are going up against. How good a feeling must this be, especially with how well they're doing on LAN as well? How good that must be feeling going into that particular series, thinking, actually, no, we do have a chance here.
It's got to be so interesting too, because Oakland would have to play both of the finalists from the final CRL season that just happened, Boise and Northwood, in the same day on land, technically, for Northwood. And then if Boise make it through, play Boise after that. I mean, that's the craziest thing about all of this here, Relic, is that if they can beat those both, I'd say Oakland are in consideration for being like a top 5 team if they can do that in these 2 events. Again, that's the big asterisk. Can they do that?
Yeah,
we have to see.
Well, you know what? We are going to find out a little later. But after this break, we're coming up for air. We're going on to the upper bracket, where we find ourselves with the upper final titanic tussle between Oklahoma Christian and Maryville for a place in the grand finals. You do not want to miss it, folks. We'll be right back after this.
I wait tables. But last week, I built a field hospital.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
We're just on this.